and I do want to talk about this first because I thought this project was dead in the water. It looks like it's not. The Ta-Nehisi Coates Black Superman film is still possible, says James Gunn. And I think this is what the number one takeaway that I had from this is anytime Hollywood does something right, the number one thing I always want to tell them is, look, they got lucky. They don't know what you want. They don't know what you're asking for. And if they do, they ignore it. Anytime Hollywood does something right like Joker, it's on accident. It's not because they're actually good at their job. It's a mistake.
I mean, I'm sorry. It's not like Joker was some kind of masterpiece. It was good.
It was, but for the period of time, they got lucky. And that's what the case is with most of this stuff. They get lucky. Remember, this is not going to be President Calvin Ellis or Val Zod from Earth 2, which are actually legitimate black versions of Superman. They're just taking Clark Kent, making him black, and then using it as a parallel to racism.
I love this. He said, it's great. I haven't read the script.
But it's great. But it's fantastic.
If the timing is right, that could absolutely happen.
Yep. They say that Superman's alien heritage is a parallel to racism. Nobody on planet Earth wants this.
Are they claiming that black people are not the same species?
That sounds like what he's saying in a way.
I'm not liking the implication.
And everyone knows that Ta-Nehisi Coates is a weird, racist, social justice activist that nobody likes. He ruined Captain America. So they're saying it would be Elseworlds like Joker because they're going to have a different Superman, hopefully played by Elliot Page. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
In their original timeline in the DC timeline.
They could put Elliot Page in blackface.
How
about that?
That would be, and then they get Robert Downey Jr. As well to take on a role of blackface in that movie. That'd be great.
Oh yeah.
They could we could have Robert Downey Jr.
Wasn't he in blackface before?
Yeah, in Tropic Thunder. So they could have him be blackface Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
We'll have him be blackface Lex Luthor in this movie, and it will be hilarious, and everybody will hate it because it'll be so offensive.
Didn't Woody Allen have a blackface movie?
That sounds accurate.
It was like Zurich or something.
Yeah. And the thing is like the parallel they're making here with Superman, unfortunately, Zack Snyder already made this comparison. Like the idea of Superman as an immigrant, he already somewhat did this in Batman versus Superman.
Have some imagination.
Yeah.
Like, not everything needs to connect back to your political pet issues.
Or to the real world. Like,
or
you
to
can
the real
just,
world at all, yes.
And it just makes no sense to me. And I really do believe this is the number one takeaway from this, is that every time they do something right, which is like once every year and a half, one of these companies does something right. And let's be fair, a lot of people have thought that James Gunn was a good person to hire. I certainly believe that Peacemaker was fine, and the Suicide Squad movie that James Gunn made were good. But those were his directing projects, not projects of him in charge of an entire, list of characters or an entire universe put together. And I think the better idea would be to do, if they were going to do an alternate timeline Superman, would have been to adapt the Red Sun story, which is an Elseworld Superman story where instead of crash landing in America, he crash lands in the Soviet Union. And then we can have...
Or you could do like all sorts of things. North Korea.
The Red Sun was based on an actual comic, so they could actually adapt that version of it. And I just don't think that the average person... Look, the fans that are actually paying attention don't want to watch something from Ta-Nehisi Coates.
You know what? The Red Sun idea is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because of like the idea that Superman is the Ubermensch and like... Yeah. I would like to see that.
There's a $20 one right there from Clef the Misfit.
Also, it's because Russians make great villains.
Yes.
He said, "We was Kryptons."
Well, that's essentially what it will end up being. Is this the type of thing where you think that they will learn their lesson? Do they need this to fail to learn their lesson? Because there is an argument here that look
from failures. They get second chances, third, fourth. These people always fail upwards. But it doesn't matter how their projects do.
And what's funny about it is that it proves the disconnect, right? Like Joker did well, they made a sequel, but they don't know why it did well. No. They don't. They are disconnected from the notion.
Well, why would you tell them? Like if they asked you why?
The media. Well, I mean, I don't think it's just because of the movie. I think it's because of the fiasco the media made out of it.
The culture around it, the memes around it, the fact that honestly that it didn't demonize white men.
I mean, it talks about the displacement, him feeling displaced in society.
But it's an American Psycho type of thing where you're also making an indictment of the world around the villain.
And also of the mental health
why,
crisis.
Why did it make him behave that way?
Yeah. And that was more it was more of an adult film. I mean, it was still more of an adult film than anything you're going to get from James Gunn.
True.
Like, I don't buy that anything made by Ta-Nehisi Coates is going to have any type of depth to it other than surface level racism and surface level, this is why this is bad. Like I said, the analog that Superman is an immigrant is already interesting enough. You don't need to go further than that or make it even more about a more divisive cultural issue here in America, which it will be, especially by the time this movie would come out. It'll be even farther down the line, and who knows where we'll be in 2025 or 2026 when this would come out. And it's gonna put a target on the back of whoever they cast.
For some reason, I don't believe that race relations or the state of Hollywood will be any better in 2026.
And the other thing is, there was two people I saw two people talking about it could work if it didn't have Coates involved. I don't think it works even without Ta-Nehisi Coates involved. If they use Clark Kent, if they use Clark Kent. Now, if they do Val-Zod or they do the present Calvin Ellis story, you could maybe make that work. I know at one point Michael B. Jordan was going to be doing an HBO Max series back when it was still HBO Max about Calvin Ellis, but that could work. I think Michael B. Jordan has a good pedigree, and I think Michael B. Jordan is also somebody that everyone can like. Like, I don't think that he's somebody that people look at and think of as divisive in any way. He's very, very, he's kind of like Bradley Cooper in a weird way to me. Like, I see him as like, he's like this generation's like a newer Bradley Cooper.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Why do you say that?
I just see him as like, he's inoffensive and he's good and he's a good actor and he is he's adequate or above average in all his roles that he portrays. And I see Bradley Cooper for the most part the same way. Maybe not in film selection, but in production. Remember Bradley Cooper's making that movie about the Jewish composer, and people were mad because he was wearing the makeup.
A prosthetic nose is the main thing that pissed people off.
But he was producing that. I was also thinking about that too, because I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about the fact that also Ben Affleck produced Argo, where he plays a character named Tony Mendez, and Ben Affleck doesn't exactly look like a Mendez.
I mean, but it's also like getting mad at Cate Blanchett for playing a character who's a pedophile. Like,
yeah. Well, I mean,
do you think that Cate Blanchett is a pedophile?
No.
It's like very disconnected from reality.
I don't think that this, even if it's an Elseworld story, is a good place to start your new DC cinematic universe when you're trying to rebuild your credibility and make yourself. What they need to do, and I'm not kidding, like, given that the people are still talking about the Flash, but nobody's talking about the Flash. They're talking about
Michael everybody
Keaton,
but Ezra Miller, who happens to be in the Flash.
And all the propaganda, they're like, oh, it's so amazing. And I'm like, meh. Like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I don't buy any journalist propaganda.
They must really like it if they haven't put the kibosh on it
They need the first 3 movies that weren't holdovers from the previous regime need to be dynamite. Like, you cannot miss on any of those.
Happen.
You cannot miss on any of those.
Let's
first
be realistic.
3.
That's not going to happen.
I'm not saying it's likely to happen or that it will.
Never.
That it won't.
Honestly, I'm getting like black-pilled about the state of.
Well, there's a reason we don't talk about
Hollywood
DC
right now. It's just nothing is good from any studio.
And-
Everything is shit.
And like you're bogged down in constant information dumps from these studios on projects.
First, look at this or that,
Yeah,
and
and,
I just don't care. I
it's-
don't care.
It's very hard to not be jaded about. There's a reason we don't talk about DC or superheroes or anything very much.
But it's
Like,
even the non-superhero stuff. I'm blackpilled about everything. Like every studio seems totally incapable of making something culturally relevant now.
Yep.
Everything sucks.
in the chat, superhero movies are the best movies, says Brett. Why aren't they pulling from existing material? Val-Zod, Calvin Ellis, and Steele. Because my cynical answer is because they believe Steele doesn't have enough pedigree with normies, and also people know Clark Kent. They don't know Val-Zod, and they don't know Calvin Ellis, even though Calvin Ellis is literally Kal-El. They're just like, you can't expect the normies to do that. Therefore, they're just going to go with Clark Kent because they know that people know who Clark Kent is. And this is a repercussion of the constant race swapping. Even when there's a non-race swapped option, they won't do it. So
yeah, but that shows what the intention behind the race swap is.
exactly. No, it's exactly. That's exactly right. And it won't matter because people will reject it.
It's not that they want to see Black Superman. It's that they want to see Clark Kent not be white anymore. That's what it is.
For them, yeah, or for the Hollywood, for the people in charge of Hollywood, yeah.
By passing
absolutely.
up the option that makes it canonically make sense.
I believe that Ta-Nehisi Coates wants that. Absolutely. The producers, I don't know. Like I fall on either side of the aisle depending on the day of the week. Half the time, I'm like, the producers are just automaton drones that theoretically want to make money. So they'll either swap it for ESG reasons or from a marketing perspective because more people know who Clark Kent is than know who Calvin Ellis or Val-Zod is. On my other days, I think it's because they just don't want to see white Clark Kent anymore. So.
You got one from Perturbed Alpaca. Lunch thought. How long until or will Hollywood ever look to classic or current YouTube for movie material? Salad Fingers live action would be interesting. Charlie the Unicorn musicals?
Oh my gosh. What do you think?
Not Charlie the Unicorn, please. Salad Fingers? Possibly. The guy behind that, what is his name? It's like David something.
Also, I posted a really funny...
He's clever.
Yeah. So like in 30 years, we'll have to deal with Sam Hyde in like a Saw type movie.
It's never going to be Sam Hyde.
It'll be Sam Hyde in a Saw type movie based on Fish Tank.
Yeah, that would be funny.
It'll just be Saw. Also, I posted a really funny... Somebody posted an old meme from the... It wasn't even a meme. It says like, what the hell was Superman doing? And it was an ad for Supergirl. And it says... It was like the first time Superman was going to appear on Supergirl. It says, Superman is coming in Supergirl on January 5th. And somebody goes, Superman's doing what now?
No.
And then all the comments were like, banjo music intensifies. And then what in the Alabama is this? And it's yeah. So look, I just think that they're not going to learn their lesson. And if this project goes forward, they're going to lose a lot of the potential goodwill. People forgive a lot if you make a couple good movies in a row. I do believe that. I do believe that for the most part, the average moviegoer, because they're
People
not
aren't
as
even going to the movies anymore.
I mean, that's not really true. If Super Mario's making $1 billion, like people are going to the movies. It's not going to be the numbers it used to be, but that's because of how many
pile the kids in.
Yeah, but I'm saying like the sad fact is there's more ways to watch entertainment now. So in comparison to other medium to the 80s, maybe people aren't going to the movies as much, but they're going about as much as you'd expect someone to go when there's YouTube streaming and all these other.
I saw a really sad video of people getting interviewed outside the movie theater for which one was which Star Wars movie was it? Must have been
2000s or
in the 80s.
Oh, okay, so Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And everyone just seemed so normal, and everyone seemed so like mentally sane.
Yeah. Well, it's like watching the videos. It's like it's the 90s. You're in the mall, and it's just people at the mall. It's like the video. It's like all the girls are like, why are you here at the mall? They're like, to meet boys.
They were more normal back then. I swear. Like people wouldn't.
I think now they're just more likely to curate content to find the not normal people because that's what people think is interesting.
Really?
Yeah. I think if you went up to okay, Mary, if me and you went to a mall tomorrow and we just looked at 5 normal people walking around and we talked to them, I don't think they're gonna say a bunch of like, "What's your body count?" shit.
Okay, okay, yes. But I was at the mall over the weekend, and I noticed, this is like totally off topic, but
Go for
like
it.
I noticed that the Zoomers don't really have clicks like the way that millennials or prior generations did. Like they don't have visible differences, like clicks differences. You know what I mean? Like they don't have brand consciousness. They don't have physical characteristics that go along with groups that they belong to socially.
Like there's no goth clique.
There's nothing. There are like 2 types of Zoomer girls and 2 types of Zoomer guys.
Yeah.
So there's like Nike sock perm Zoomer and chain necklace or like chain necklace e-boy Zoomer. And then the girls are like e-girl Zoomer girl and Lululemon Zoomer girl.
Wait, what's the first type of Zoomer girl?
Like an e-girl.
Okay.
With like split hair. She has like black on one side, red on the other side.
Okay.
But then the other girl is
They like anime.
yeah, but then the other Zoomers.
Lululemon would have been a prep.
The Lululemon.
She would have been a prep back, like a preppy girl back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no other types. There's no other cliques. There's no interests. They don't have interests.
It's all an amorphous Borg.
And they kind of blend together. It's just, I don't know, like most of their social interaction is like not
I think part
in
of that.
real life.
I think part of that is as a consequence of the internet. And it's pushed everyone into the same interests and spheres, whereas before it would have been separated. Like this is a weird aside. When I found out that they don't have like a high school hockey tournament out here, that was crazy to me because I'm from Minnesota, and in Minnesota, hockey's such a big
hockey's
thing.
not a big thing.
And like the internet
it's
has
lacrosse here.
Yeah. So the internet has made it so everything is kind of the same. Like it's all a Borg now.
Yeah.
And it's so funny that it's so weird that that Nike socks and perm became like a thing because it used to be like that was the hair you didn't get a high and tight on, but now they do it and they look like mushrooms. Like it's like out of all the hairstyles,
They look like a walking mushroom cloud.
They do, and they look like they're about to say, "What's your body count?"
They do,
and then you're about to be like, and then they're gonna follow you around and be like, how would you rate your sexual marketplace value? Like it's weird.
What's that?
Yeah, guys, don't go like. Okay, this is back on point for a point.
Track.
If they want, I do believe that the average moviegoer and the average fan. Look, every time one of these boycotts happen with one of these movies and people say that they're not going to go see this or they're done with this, then one good trailer comes out and a bunch of people, I'm not saying anyone here, but a bunch of people are like, I wasn't going to go see this and then I watched this trailer, now I think I've got to. Look, people forgive very easily and people have very, very short attention spans and the memories aren't that long when it comes to media that makes them feel something. So if they can get 1, 2, and 3 of James Gunn's first movie releases, not his movies, but the ones under his tenure that are just under his tenure, meaning not Aquaman, which hasn't come out yet, not The Flash, and not, is it just those 2 that are left? Is it just Aquaman and The Flash that are left?
Blue Beetle
And Blue Beetle. Okay, so.
Wait, Blue Beetle already came out, right?
No, Blue Beetle's not out yet. So if those 3.
What was the one that came out?
If those 3 come out.
Oh, Shazam.
Shazam came out. If they can get the first 3 after those movies to be decent films, I'm not even talking about like great. I'm saying like above average.
Wait,
right?
when did Blue Beetle come out?
If they can get those 3 movies, they will be on a good track again. Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.